This conference will now be recorded.
Got a little bit of delay with the mouse button, so when I hit it the second time, it must got canceled. So we'll just, for benefit of doing this, let's just make sure we got a roll. Trustee McKinnon, present. Trustee Malagranda. Present. Trustee Jeremy.
Present.
Graham, thank you. Chad Insko. Jimmy Johnson, present. Sally Bennett, present. Attorney Mary Gaziano, present. So any conflict of interest to disclose? Any changes to the agenda? Motion to approve the agenda.
Jeremy Graham will make that motion.
And Malagranda seconds.
Those in favor, Mr. Malagranda,
Yes.
Mr. Graham,
Yes.
and Mr. McKinnon, yes. Approval of the Public Works minutes from February the 1st of 2021.
Anybody see any issues?
Do I have a motion to approve?
Jeremy Graham will make that motion.
Trustee McKinnon will second. Yes, Ms. Gaziano.
That was my fault because this is under number 18. I had been incorrectly stating the tax sale date for delinquent taxes was February 28th when it was February 26th.
I will correct that in a minute. Anything else?
Good for me.
Those in favor, Trustee Graham,
Yes.
Trustee McKinnon, yes. And Trustee Malagranda.
Yes.
I do not see anybody here for public comment, and nobody had signed up for the to talk to the committee, so that is none. Construction funding report. I know Treasurer Bennett sent one out. I did not have an opportunity to look at it yet, so I'm going to just pull it up real quick.
We have started receiving invoices from Fairgram for the design for the Lyda Street project. And those have been paid as that was pre-approved. The only other note that I made to talk about was that the Lyda Street project, we had estimated that we would use $80,000 from the street sinking fund from the ComEd money. And you can see currently that we have 122,000 in there. So it all seems like it's lining up and just ready to go.
You know, and beyond, as Sally noted on the design engineering, that's all we've got at this particular point as far as any activity since our last meeting on the report. So, any other questions relative to that? Public Works staffing, everything's still going good as far as our newest employee, Chad?
Yes.
And then we
Very good.
got what, we're at what, close to the 60-day mark now, or?
It was January 18th, so he's got a little ways to go yet.
Okay.
But-
But everything's tracking well.
Yes, sir.
Everybody survived all the snow removal, so maybe we get that behind us for a while.
That would be A-okay.
And I'm happy to report my yard is melting nice and draining nice, and I'm not collecting any water. So I think my landscaping work solved that one too, so.
Just keep doing what it's doing.
Okay, item number 9, we've got, basically at the board meeting, we discussed this where there were some, outstanding bills that we had exceeded the previous approved amount from the board. Just kind of refreshing everybody on that. Chad went back through and gave a pretty good solid explanation on all the things that had transpired there. And then the outstanding bills remaining were under the $5,000 amount, which is my approval level. And so I've gone ahead and approved those. But just to bring everybody up to speed, again, we had a project plan in place. We were going to be significantly under that budget, but inadvertently, when there was some directional boring being taken place for some gas lines for the Rock River Reclamation District, some of our electrical wires that were not well marked on any plans or whatever were hit. So as a result of that, we had some unintended consequences when we tied in the generator to tie into a transfer switch. We expected to use that transfer switch. However, that got shorted out with the wires that got damaged. So all in all, we had a little bit of an overrun of where we expected to be. However, in total, with the amount of work that was done by village staff and everything, we still came underneath what the original estimate was expected to be. So at this point, I had that on there in the event that those invoices and everything, if I was still concerned with them or if they were in excess of the amount that I could approve, I wanted it on the agenda for tonight, so that way we could talk about it and bring it to the board. But being that the explanation Chad had provided to me was satisfactory and all of those invoices were under my approval level, I've gone ahead and provided my approval to Sally so she can go ahead and settle up with those vendors. Anybody have any questions relative to that? Okay, item number 10, again, in the long topic as far as the generator for the village. We do have that in the budget. Chad, did you get a chance to get a revised updated quote to see whether the previous estimate we still have is valid or where we stand on that?
Yes, the revised quote was attached by Kelly for this meeting.
That was revised. I thought that one still had the date back on.
It could be the vendor. It's been
Is that the
several
JP
months.
Electric one?
JP
Yes.
Electric, it's 11,000 and some change.
11,350.
Yeah, and I believe, I'm not totally positive, but I know that's the good quote. Yeah, I have it here, 11,350. So Sally had provided me or Sally even has, but I have them here, the 3 different budget line items that would come from, but that is the revised quote, because I believe last year when he quoted it, it was just under $11,000. And I had requested this revised quote prior to, it was August of last summer, and he gave me a revision before the last Public Works meeting. And I don't recall off the top of my head how we left it, but this is the most recent revised quote, and I was going to pose it before the committee tonight to request spending approval up to $12,000 to get that installed, and then am able to provide the line items if warranted.
Okay, so he updated the price, he just didn't update the date.
Yes, and we have had a discussion about the vendor and his QuickBooks management just recently, I think.
Yeah, well, that was one thing that Chad and I talked about on one of the quotes, on one of the invoices is simple wording can throw you for a loop later on, because basically it said invoice, but in the description it said proposal. And the reality of it was he basically did the work to the previous proposal, and sometimes just a couple of updated words to take the clarity out of it. And I think this is another example where the price is updated. And I guess seeing that there's no verbiage on anywhere here that the quote's only valid for 30 days and has an August date, which could present a problem. But so Public Works is in a position now to do whatever they would need to do with other tasks to work with the vendor on this to move this forward.
Yeah, and as previously, we've just been asked to spearhead, getting the quotes and doing the alignment, the logistics of getting the work done. Again, this is not a holistic public works project. This is shared between the office, I believe the police department, and the O&M budget. But we're, of course, the logical entity to orchestrate getting the work done. So yes, it would more than likely, if award of this proposal happened at the next board meeting, probably 60 days before the equipment showed up and another 45 days before the vendor could install it. Something in that realm of 60 to 100 days before it's completed.
Yeah, I think while the funding is being shared, if there's any labor dedicated to it, it comes on you two. So do I have a motion to make a recommendation for board approval for not to exceed $12,000 to the appropriate 3 accounts?
Stan Milligranda makes that motion.
Jeremy Graham will second that motion.
Chad, do you have the account numbers, or Sally, do you have them handy there?
I do have them in front of me, and Sally, correct me if anything's done wrong. I've got 0141661 office
I'm sorry.
maintenance.
One more time on the last 3 digits.
661.
Okay.
That's office maintenance. The second line item is 0143831. Large equipment. And the third is 5144830. Small equipment.
And is that a third to each?
Correct. Evenly distributed.
Any other questions or comments relative to this?
I would just like to say it's been a long time coming, and I'm really happy this is going to happen.
We haven't voted yet.
I would
Any other
also like to say that I'm very glad that the board, it wasn't this board, but moved away from, we're going to just do one where we've got lots of cords on the floor so people can trip over them.
If you're gonna do it right. So,
Right.
okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, those in favor, Trustee Milligranda,
Yes.
Trustee Graham,
Yes.
Trustee McKinnon, yes. Okay, we will bring that to the board, so that will be an action item. Any other updates on any other capital spending plans?
Not yet.
No dump truck?
We're still licking our wounds. We're on our way.
I guess when you're spending 80 hours a week plowing, you don't have a chance to do some of that other due diligence, huh? So no update. Street project beyond what Sally had provided on engineering, any other updates?
We've had some excellent feedback from Seth. IDOT has turned around their comment period very rapidly. Seth put the finishing touches on the bid package today with Jim and I doing some field work to verify a couple questions he had. So it's going to be going out to advertise for bid very soon, and we expect the bids to be back in time for the April meeting. So that's a really good timeline. Usually with MFT, IDOT needs a little longer review time, but we hit this in the right time period. So everything we've been told, it's going to hit the street real soon.
Great. Mary, have you been able to track down legal contact at IG at
I did at RRWRD. I did call him again. We haven't spoken, but I would like, as I read over the letter that he had given me, and again, it was from a predecessor from July 22nd of 2020. I still would like for us to have a video conference or whatever we want to do, and get up to speed of where we are even before talking to him. And the reason I say that is because all that Mr. Fitzgerald is going to know is what's in this letter. And I know that there have been, I wasn't involved, but there have been other discussions. And I just think that even though we've been playing phone tag, that it's still going to be more fruitful in my discussion with him if we have already discussed from a village's standpoint what is different or wrong or changed from this July 22nd of 2020 proposal.
Okay.
That's what I'd be requesting.
How does your availability look? Sixteenth, 17th, 18th of this month?
Looking. I can do any of those.
Okay. Any conflicts that you're aware of, Chad?
Not that I see.
And are there
I'll get a-
any documents that we would need to share before that time? I'm just very
I don't-
visual, as Chad knows, and so I just wondered if there's anything that we should be circulating before we would have this Zoom meeting.
What I'll do is I'll touch base with Frank. My guess would be is if there's no conflict with anybody, Wednesdays typically are his office hours. So maybe we can shoot to try to get something set up for Wednesday, the 17th. And then that still gives us time that if there's any documents we need to get, certainly a copy of that letter and any other information Frank's had back for there. And let's shoot for a call on the 17th.
And then the other thing too, and I'm just throwing this out there, if any, there'd be few enough people, I think we could also meet in person if somebody felt that that was necessary.
We got all this plexiglass here. It does make certain things easy. So I guess if everybody's comfortable with that, we'll present the option. And certainly if anybody's uncomfortable with that, we can still run a tandem.
And what date we were talking about? The 17th, correct?
Wednesday, the 17th. Mainly
Yeah,
because
the only caveat would, and it would be after 5 o'clock, correct? We think?
I do not know. I guess I don't know that.
The only reason I say that is technically I'm scheduled for my second COVID dose that day, but we don't know exactly. It's supposed to be on or after that day, but we haven't been notified yet.
Well, let me do this. I will check with Frank relative to the 16th, 17th, and 18th, see what he's got, and then we'll follow up and set something hopefully on one of those 3 days.
And I'll forward a copy of this this email with the July 22nd of 2020 letter. And I know, and I'll find out from Frank because it references attachments, but there's only one attachment that this person gave me, but I've seen this letter before. So I'll just make sure you have all the attachments so we know what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, please do, and then I'll follow up with Frank and we'll get something set up.
Okay.
I doubt we have any other activity with Rock River that we're aware of, Chad.
Nothing that's any type of capital or large, just regular day-to-day maintenance things.
Okay.
They've taken care of a couple of little pop-up projects we've seen, and we've heard that they've got a couple of miscellaneous fixes, but nothing with major impact that I'm aware of.
Any further developments on hail damage claims, anything?
We are still in basically every other week conversations with the insurance folks. I'm gonna try to get, hopefully with the way things look, that maybe Kelly, Sally, and myself can do possibly a video conference and outline what we're thinking as a village, and get some direction started here with how we want to attack the projects that are in greatest need. So, but
Okay.
no massive action, just perpetual forward motion.
Yeah, we're getting to that point too on my personal stuff that I haven't dealt with yet. Now that we're getting back to contractor season, it's time to rekindle the flame. So maybe there's a little bit more availability than there was, 11 months ago, or over the last 11 months.
Yeah, one thing that going to happen, the air conditioning was total loss at the village hall. That has been green lighted to a local contractor outside of a general. We of course just general one of our local contractors after getting a couple of quotations, but that'll be a full replacement. The roof unit and the interior condenser unit or A coil.
Okay. Anything to report out on water meters upgrades?
It's much the same. We're doing probably about a dozen every month, and it seems to be working pretty well. The only downside, not to be negative, but we did talk about some of the larger meters have aged out, and we're getting kind of a slew of those at the same time. So it's changing a little bit of our priority and our cost course, but I think we're handling it very well.
I don't know that if you see any of it, but with some of the social media comments on water usage or whatever, we've been able to isolate it. Is this any of this to do with new meters, or is all old meter stuff, or any knowledge?
The very little bit that I know about it was a lot of hearsay and false information. They said it was costing the homeowners money. And I know the office has tried to cut the head off the snake and done some information that when we do these new meters, there's a phone app that you can monitor your own usage. So, and then we also can see within a matter of moments if you have a leak, and we notify the people, and that there is no cost, no incurred cost. Again, that's something that Kelly and I had talked about, getting that information on the website. And I know after our department head meeting, it's kind of on a front burner for the office to handle. And it's being handled. Kelly and I will be meeting and talking about the better way with new people in the office that haven't really known how to answer the questions. But the social media takes my constant social media stance that it's a lot of flack thrown around enormously. So I myself don't participate, but I know one was very blatant and disrespectful because the one person got 2 letters. One letter was for non-payment and the other letter was for meter request. And the non-payment had the verbiage of water cancellation. The meter request or a backflow preventer inspection request, that just comes with a timeline for response. We don't threaten water shut off, but again, it's one of those things, if we go back on social media, it just backfires. I will agree that we need to put a better 4-step out that just is informational, that says we're going to be changing meters and that there is no cost to the resident.
Well, from what I could tell from my observations, I think the vast majority of them are unrelated to new meters. It's situations where they probably have a water leak or something leaking. And fortunately, the vast majority of the intercommunity responses are favorable to our position and very complimentary to the fact that the village is initiating contacts to advise residents that they're having excess usage, and how that you guys have gone above and beyond in some situations to not only identify that they have a high usage, but actually helping identify what it is. So I think, you know, again, the squeaky wheel is going to get the grease, but from what I could tell, the vast majority of it probably have nothing to do with the new meters. And when the new meter do get installed, and then they do have the ability to be able to track usage and everything, that's going to be a huge benefit to the residents, the office, and you guys in the field, because it's giving you immediate data. And I like the, you know, one, I think it was a Pecatonica resident or whatever, maybe, that even said, you know, she posted on there that she personally looks at her meter every week. That way she self-identifies if she happens to have a water usage problem. So fortunately, the majority of the people responding are really supportive of the village and where we stand. And it's probably a few outliers that, you know, again, they've got some high water usage or something. And I don't think it has anything to do with the new meters, but it certainly gets blown out of control, especially if you have one that is posting their bill there and they do have some, you know, 2 or 3 months of not paying a bill. Of course, you're going to have a bill that's 3 months worth, you know, so, but.
Yeah,
Yeah,
part
we
of
can
that
get
was
about-
very good to hear. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, no, but it is nice because they say social media can be your friend or your foe, but the vast majority of we don't need to really respond to it at all because most of the residents are supporting us. So, but it is still good to at least get a vibe of what's going on. We might be able to intercept something or identify something, so.
I agree, and I actually was thinking it might be nice to post some things on the village site that just are informational without the ability to comment. For instance, how many gallons of water does it take when you flush the toilet? And it depends if you have a 20-year-old toilet or a 10-year-old toilet sometimes. You know, there's a lot of information out there, and I think also people naturally are home more now because everything's shut down. So I just don't think I don't think anyone realizes how much of an impact that has, just that many more flushes or that much more, you know, usage.
Well, you typically, you know, you spend 8 hours a day at work, 8 hours a day at home, and the other 8 hours a day are sleeping or thereabouts. When all of a sudden 16 hours are spent at the home, you know, any water you consume, or you indicate every time you flush, you know, half of your water usage used to occur at work and now it's occurring at home. And those I think would be very appropriate. And then the other number that would baffle people if they're not aware of it is if you have a stuck toilet valve, how many gallons of water in one day do you think you will go through? I mean, it's thousands, you know, so, but yeah, I think that would be exactly informational only. And then we could probably go into the fact that, you know, as your meter ages out, you'll have the ability to view this live, just like you do on your electric bill or whatever. And I think that would be some good, but yeah, Chad, you made a good point or whatever. I didn't even think about when somebody posts their bill up and they only show, you know, the one corner of it. You miss the opportunity to see gallons when the other main part of the bill, you might see the fact that, oh, you've got like 3 months past due, you know, so, but anyways, it is good to know that the vast majority of the residents are supporting your efforts and are very appreciative of what's being done to try to cut it off at the pass. Well, how do we end up with salt?
We're in decent shape, but in order to fulfill the obligation of our contract, I think we're looking at requesting 4 loads, which would be not to exceed $10,000. I won't lie to you, this was a brutal winter at the end here, so we used plenty and we tried to be careful, but we got back into the stockpile. But regardless, to get to our 100% quota, and we need to do it, our request is not to exceed $10,000.
Okay, do we have a motion to move forward with that?
Stan Milligrand makes that motion.
Second?
Jeremy Graham will second.
Any other questions or comments? Those in favor, Mr. Malagranda,
Yes.
Mr. Graham,
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon, yes. And so that will be an action item to take to the board. I'm suspecting I know the answer, but just to confirm, anybody, any updates on the DCEO grant?
There has been no update reported to us. And it does follow suit with what was forecast, that there wouldn't really be much action till April.
Oh. Number 19,
That's a big hallelujah.
long,
Village
long,
is-
long in coming.
Long in coming. But finally, the village is now the owner. I don't have the original deed, but it's coming. You've gotten a copy of it, and you should have gotten my email today that was quite detailed, that explained everything that's went on and what property the village now has, 34.9 acres. Probably just as importantly, there's also an agreement, an assignment agreement for the assignment of any recapture fees that Mantle Development Group would have gotten. Because as I was drafting the agreement, I knew we had the money that we were holding for Crossroads Church, but I knew that there was also other potential property out there. Not to say that the village can go run and spend money now, but there are several properties that Mantle Development Group had done some work so that they have this recapture agreement that is now ours. And if those properties were to hook on, it's 185,697.45 that the village potentially could get in the future in recapture fees. We do have the 12,820.50 that Crossroads paid that we did not pay over to Mantle Development Group purposely. So the good thing about that is that certainly helped to offset the 14,741.04 we paid for the back taxes. Those are all paid. You should have gotten copies of the email I just sent to Sally shortly before this meeting with the receipts. I go to court on March 11th. That's for the dismissal of the case. Naturally, that won't be dismissed until I have that original deed in hand. But my information is that from Attorney Keelty that I have a copy of the signed one, but I need an original of that one for recording, and that's being sent from New Zealand by Dr. Tanner. And that's where we are with it. So
Well, thank you for the update. This would definitely be something that obviously it'll move to a different phase because now that we have it, hopefully, but again, it's very good. So I'm going to leave this as an agenda item. Obviously, it'll push down because at some point in time, somebody will be taking on trying to figure out, okay, now where do we go from here? But at least it's a good one to see for the most part closed from the status it was in before.
yeah, I mean, I think it's very important to keep it on there because the village has to decide what it wants to do and how it wants to possibly attempt to market any of this. There are some platted lots. There are some that I know I've talked to Frank about, several acres that are unplatted, where, you know, there may be some concession given to a developer if they do certain of the work, that sort of thing. So I do think we will be needing to have future discussion over all of this. So it's good to keep it on it, to keep on the agenda.
It's probably going to be the next phase will probably start at a higher level from the board trying to figure out where to go with it. But again, like some of these other things, we'll at least keep it as a tracking item so at least we kind of don't lose sight of it. So.
And
Chad,
then just to be clear too, if I could, Mike, I know Chad had raised the question some time ago that the recapture agreement as originally written basically said that Mantle Development property would not be charged a recapture fee. And so that in essence, they owned 57.68 acres to begin with, and Mantle didn't want to be paying a recapture fee on its own property. Chad, I know, had raised the question, well, what about when they sold the property? And obviously they did collect a recapture fee from people they sold the property to, namely Crossroads Church. So I just made it clear in the agreement that will be, that assignment agreement that'll be recorded, that although it indicated that Mantle Development Group itself wasn't going to get charged a recapture fee, that would in no way affect the village's ability to assess a recapture fee against somebody now purchasing property from the village. So hopefully that'll be cleared up. That assignment document will be recorded so that will put the world on notice that there is this recapture fee out there for those affected properties.
Okay, thank you. Chad, are you prepared to discuss or need to discuss anything between items 20 and 37?
I really do not think that we are prepared to discuss any of those items.
I didn't think you were, but I was going to give you the opportunity.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it, but I appreciate the question more.
So going back to item number 24, Mary, I don't think there's anything at the moment from this group other than getting this meeting set up with Rock River Reclamation, which I'll talk to Frank. So leaving here, I don't see any action required of you at this time.
Okay, and then I know that it's in 28, maybe, I think you stopped at 27. But with spring coming, are we going to be getting back to the sidewalk and driveway permitting issue?
Yes, we need to get that now that the winter is behind us. We need to, I'll try to maybe get some time with Chad and Jimmy offline and bring something back maybe in advance of the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, I would be looking at Monday, April the 5th for the next meeting.
Sounds good to me. Wrestling is over by then. It's a very short season this year. So we can go back to the 4 o'clock if that works better for you.
I see Jimmy raising his hand, so I think there's a motion. Chad, you got a second? Okay, we'll go for 4 o'clock and it'll either be in person, by video, or a hybrid of the two. So with that, I'll entertain a motion for dismissal.
Before we do that, could I say something about number 32, Windjust?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Just Frank wanted me to just mention it to Public Works, and we're doing this with other committees as well that might have a use for it. But it kind of got brought up with the whole Mantle Development Group thing that, as you know, we pay Windjust for services that we really underutilize. And it would have been helpful. They could have maybe gotten some of the information that I had to independently get over Mantle Development Group. And it's just out there that we thought we wanted to kind of bring it to everyone's attention that we might want to participate in some training from Windjust. They're doing it virtually. Frank said he had participated. I think a couple of other staff members had as well. But just to kind of make it as global as possible so that we can find out exactly what Windjust can do for us and the various maps and different things that they can generate for us. And if we provide them with information such as for zoning, we're going to be talking about it to the zoning committee or zoning board, that if we give them all of the appropriate zoning documents, that then they can be keeping things updated for us and are most willing to do so, but they just don't have things from the village. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Is that activity something that's included in the fees we pay, or is there additional cost when we start sending that stuff over?
No, it's included. It's all included. Because I don't know, Sally, do you know how much we pay? The village pays per year? About?
We pay quarterly, and I'm trying to remember. I can just look really fast.
As I
Okay, maybe
recall,
not really fast.
it's a fairly substantial amount yearly, but the whole idea is that they say, you know, we provide you all these services, and certainly would be well worth it if we used it.
Well, yeah, I think it is important to, again, revisit some of the training, let us know what can be used. I think the shortcoming that we have is the lack of available staff to try to take advantage of some of that. But if we can revisit, and if we have information already that we can turn over to them, get updated. But yes, I think reacclimating us to what some of the features and benefits are certainly would be a good start.
And it isn't intended really to, lay more on the staff, so to speak. It's even for me. I mean, I have the access, but I don't have a clue what they offer. Oh,
It's $3,000
as well.
for the year.
Okay,
$3,000.
And basically that originally was based on a percentage of their budget. We pay like 1%, but technically our village, it's based on our size, and we were less than 1%, but that was the easiest way for them to do it. So some of the bigger municipalities pay more than us. And I think that's still the way they do it, but I really haven't, I don't know for a fact.
I guess what would be from what we do know, what's the easiest way to, just request them to give us another hour overview or something, or who would take that on?
we could do it through Kelly. I know I had talked to Frank that said, I certainly want to, on my own time, want to learn how to use it because it can be beneficial for what I do for the village. And there could be more than one time. It doesn't have to be that we all only can meet at one time. They seem to be very willing to conduct these sorts of instructional seminars. So I think all we have to do is ask. To me, it would make sense to get at least a few of us together at a given time so that they're not doing it over and over and over again. But I think that there could certainly be more than one session.
Okay, I'll
We
just-
recently had a meeting that I believe was recorded. It was a go-to meeting. So maybe, some people could watch that, and we could even do a different one that has different features, just, so that everyone could get a chance to see it.
That might
I'll
be a
put
good
this-
starting point, Sally. If we could send us the link or whatever so that we can watch at least what you originally saw and then kind of build on there. Because I
Mhm.
honestly don't know anything about it. I
Okay.
just don't.
I'll bring it up on Monday just to make sure it's at a global level. We're all there and maybe we can get an assignment out of there. So, okay, anything else from anybody? We'll seek a motion for adjournment.
Jeremy Graham will make that motion.
Dan Milligrand seconds.
Those in favor, Mr. Graham,
Yes.
Mr. Malagranda,
Yes.
and Mr. McKinnon, yes. So the meeting is adjourned at 6:13 PM.
Thank you.
Everybody have a great evening.
Hey, Mike,
Yes, ma'am.
can I stay after and ask you a question about community development?
Yes, you may, as soon as I figure out how to get this mouse to turn this.
Recording off. See you later.
Okay, have a good evening.
Good night.
You have a good one, Mike. I'll see you.
Okay, Stan, thank you. I don't know if this battery's going dead on this thing or what.
Usually end up turning it on and off. I don't know.
Yeah,
Can
that
you hear me
works.
now?
Take care.